The honourable member for Essex.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And I will be splitting my time with the fine member for Chicoutimi Fiore. Madam Speaker, this being the first substantial time I've spoken in the House, I would like to ask just for a few moments to thank a bunch of people that have made it happen. And number one, first and foremost, as always, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Without him, I would not have the ability or the opportunity to serve the great folks of Essex. I want to say thank you so much to my lovely wife, Allison, of 27 years, somebody that, yeah, she is a saint, for being there with me and my three amazing children, to my father, Kim, who's taught me a lot along the way, and my late mom, Helen, that I know she's looking down. To my amazing election team, Madam Speaker, just thank you so much for all your hard work. I've got one of the very best, and of course the amazing people of Essex, Madam Speaker, that have put their trust in me for a third term. Madam Speaker, over the last 10 years, we have been in this House time and time again, facing legislation that stemmed from the Liberal anti-energy agenda. Bills C-49, C-55, and most notably C-69, the No More Pipelines Act. Each of these bills sought to increase the regulatory framework around energy infrastructure, slowing and in many cases stopping development. Because of these policies, in January of this year, Energy Now reported that since 2015, Canada has seen $670 billion in cancelled natural resource projects. The cancellations of these projects have had devastating impacts on people's lives, with the Montreal Economic Institute projecting that the Liberal oil and gas cap could cause the loss of almost 113,000 jobs by 2040. How striking it is that a political party that has spent the last 10 years throwing up every barrier it could to the construction of new energy infrastructure should now find that it is the urgency to pass Bill C-5, a bill that will only slightly lower some of those barriers. Across Canada, unemployment has risen to 7%, according to the latest data released by Statistics Canada. Liberal job-killing policies have caused this crisis, and the refusal to repeal anti-development laws will only worsen it. Through this act, the government is telling Canadians that the very laws they implemented have prevented them from getting jobs, preventing them from putting food on the table, and preventing the economic development of our country. How many more cancelled projects, layoffs, and losses of income before we say enough is enough? Madam Speaker, what we saw consistently from the last government was sweeping plans and grand promises, but no action. And here we go again. On June 19th, the Honourable Government House Leader said that Bill C-5 is a response to an economic and trade crisis caused by our neighbours to the south. And he's right. Our lack of growth in the energy sector has created a reliance resulting in the United States receiving 96% of our oil exports in 2023. They are now the #1 exporter of LNG in the world, a position which should and could have been held by Canada. If the Liberals had focused on bringing energy products into Canada over the last 10 years, instead of halting their development, Canadians wouldn't be losing their jobs, and we would not be stuck playing in a frantic defense. In the past 5 years, proposals have come from almost a dozen countries that have wanted to purchase or partner with Canada's LNG production. Germany and Poland in 2022, Japan and South Korea in 2023, Greece, Philippines, and Taiwan in 2024. The Liberals have had the last 10 years to strengthen our workforce, economic independence, and diversified our LNG. Instead, they have left Canada without the option and infrastructure to stand on our own 2 feet. Canada should be strong and independent, not scrambling to pass legislation because the government realized they've been making serious mistakes. Bill C-5 promises to speed up the approval process and remove regulatory barriers. If that's the goal, why does the government want to create an entirely new office to oversee each project proposal? This regulatory body has not been identified, may take several months to establish and staff, has an unknown set of criteria by which to assess projects, and does not have a designated minister. As it stands, the Building Canada Act may, at best, reduce the number of months that a proposed project will spend before the new regulatory body. Madam Speaker, to build a major project today, whether it is a pipeline, a mine, an electricity transmission line, or any other project, takes several years, and there's good reason for that. Those years are filled with advanced planning, engineering, road evaluation, and consultations with landowners and Indigenous communities, and then several months to build. Shortening the regulatory reviews, while desirable, will not change that, nor will it prevent groups that oppose such projects from using the courts to hamper and delay their development. Those legal delays will undoubtedly drag on, and we will see exactly what we saw over the past 10 years. Projects will get cancelled, and hardworking Canadians will lose their livelihoods because of this government's lack of planning. Madam Speaker, what happens when the approval of important projects is sped up without proper consideration? Mistakes are made, details are overlooked, and corners get cut. TD forecasts that there will be 100,000 job losses by the third quarter of this year. Madam Speaker, Canada cannot afford this lack of a concrete planning or commitments. More cancelled and delayed projects will lead to more Canadians who cannot provide for their families. Several areas of this bill are vague and non-committal. For example, Bill C-5 fails to outline clear criteria for what is considered a national interest project. And hidden away at the end of Bill C-5, it states that Cabinet has the power to exempt national interest projects from federal laws. This government is handling themselves unchecked power to exempt projects they deem important and telling us not to question it, without committing to repeal the laws that have created these problems in the first place. Additionally, it fails to provide concrete timelines for the new and improved approvals process. The Liberals have merely stated that the goal for this bill is to shorten approval timelines from 5 years to 2, but conveniently have not committed to that timeline in the text of the bill. Not only will this bill make little to no real impact on the timeline of energy infrastructure projects, but the Prime Minister also said that the premiers will have a veto on resource projects and pipelines, which will be certainly cause delays and hinder our fight to protect Canadian sovereignty. At best, moving projects from concepts to useful operating infrastructure will still take several years and billions of dollars. So what is the justification to ram this bill through the House without proper examination and debate to ensure that it will have the same benefits this government claims? Madam Speaker, this cabinet is effectively the same as the last one. For the past 10 years, they have failed to further Canada's interests, increase Canadian jobs, grow Canada's economy, or strengthen Canada's sovereignty. As my colleague, the honourable member for Lakeland, pointed out on May 28th, the Liberals have killed 16 major energy projects in the last 5 years. Why should we trust what they will be able to get done this time around, she went on to say. If this government wants to enact real change and speed up national building projects, then they should repeal their anti-development laws that block those projects so we can strengthen the jobs in our oil and gas sector. Furthermore, they should repeal the industrial carbon tax that is financially strangling our farmers, steel and aluminum and natural gas producers, and causing companies to give up their operations in Canada and move to other countries. Make no mistake, Conservatives want to see streamlined project development without the piles of red tape that have built up over the past decade. We want to work with the government to make sure that that happens. Conservatives have been consistent in our support for natural energy infrastructure, warning the Liberals for years about the economic necessity of these projects. However, that does not mean we shouldn't do our due diligence, Madam Speaker, and take the time to properly consider this legislation. In its current state, Bill C-5 does not provide real solutions. The crisis caused by the Liberals has robbed Canadians of jobs and stability. Bill C-5 has no impact on the laws causing these issues, the laws that have given us skyrocketing unemployment and an oil and gas sector that is far behind our competitors. Canadians deserve economic stability, but they also deserve transparency and clarity. I challenge the government to repeal their anti-pipeline and anti-development laws, and to allow this House the time to flesh out the details of this bill, to give Canadians concrete timelines and set a list of criteria so it provides real, tangible benefits to Canadians. Thank you, Madam Speaker.